Build a mind so strong it scares people. Stoicism. You don't need to raise your voice to prove your strength. A truly grounded mind commands respect not through noise, but through presence. In a chaotic world, where people are quick to react, quick to anger, quick to give up, the one who can stay calm, rational and disciplined is the most formidable. Not because they strike first, but because they're nearly impossible to bring down. That's exactly what you're about to learn in this video, through the lens of Stoicism. Stoicism isn't just abstract theory for philosophers locked away in libraries. It was practiced by generals on the battlefield, by emperors like Marcus Aurelius in times of crisis, and by everyday people facing grief, pain and injustice. It teaches one simple truth. You can't control the world, but you can control yourself. And when you do that, you become unshakable. By the end of this video, you'll know how to build a mind that's not only strong, but quietly intimidating. Because people will sense you're not someone who falls easily. Do you want a mind so strong it makes others pause? Then don't start by powering up. Start by letting go of the illusion that life is supposed to be easy. The root of suffering is the belief that things should be smooth, simple, and go your way. People aren't hurt by events, they're hurt by the world around them. By their thoughts that those events shouldn't happen. That's the first mental trap and the first wall that must fall. We grow up in a world that quietly promises, if you try hard enough, things will go well. But Stoicism says the opposite. The world promises nothing. It's not cruel, but it's not kind either. It simply is what it is. Because it shifts control from the outside world back into your hands. Frankl didn't escape suffering. He transformed it. And he survived, not just physically, but with meaning. But to do that, you have to change how you see adversity. Most people treat hardship like punishment. A Stoic sees it as a custom-designed test for their mental evolution. Imagine your mind as a blade. Without friction, fire, and hammering, it stays a lump of metal. To become sharp, it must be tested. No exceptions. Have you noticed that those who overreact emotionally are often the ones who face the least real hardship? Meanwhile, people who've endured deep pain tend to respond with calm. They've been forged. But here's the good news. You don't have to wait for tragedy to learn this. Truly resilient people don't need to prove anything. They don't say, I'm fine. They are fine. They don't flex, compete, or try to dominate. Because they've won the hardest fight. The one within. And that quiet strength. That's what unsettles others. Not because it's aggressive, but because it reflects the instability in them. There's a practice you can start right now. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this here to teach me? That one question can keep you from spiraling. It brings you back to the present. To the only thing you truly control. How you see the problem. And when you change how you see it, you change your experience of it. Not because the world changes. But because you have. A strong mind doesn't need armor. It doesn't crave validation. It doesn't try to intimidate. But its steadiness makes others cautious. Because you can't beat someone who no longer needs to win. That's an untouchable kind of strength. Because it doesn't come from outside. But if you truly want to grow, mindset alone isn't enough. You also have to shed the habits that quietly weaken you. The ones you think are harmless, but slowly erode your core. And that's what we're going to uncover next. Number 2. Habits you must break to grow. There are small things we do every day without ever asking ourselves. Why am I still stuck in the same place? It's not because we lack potential. But because we unknowingly carry habits that quietly imprison our minds. A strong mind isn't built on fleeting high-minded thoughts. It's forged by deliberately clearing away the mental clutter we accumulate over time. You can't become a warrior if every morning you wake up and slip right back into a cycle of complaining, procrastinating, and chasing comfort. Complaining is a sweet but toxic drug for the mind. When you grumble about your job, your coworkers, the weather or traffic, you're telling your brain, I'm powerless. I'm not in control. Worse, you start to believe it. Sure, it brings momentary relief, but it leaves you stuck in the same unchanged reality. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone calm, composed and focused on solutions who constantly complains? Mentally strong people choose action or silence. If they can fix something, they do. If they can't, they let it go. Everything in between is just draining your life energy. Next time you're about to complain, ask yourself, what can I do right now to change this? If the answer is nothing, then exhale, release it and move on. Another well-disguised trap is comfort. We're constantly tempted by the soft chair, the cool room, the easy option, the familiar path. But the comfort zone is where growth dies. Stoicism doesn't teach us to be cold or detached. It teaches us to face discomfort as an inseparable part of life. When you skip a workout because you're tired, when you stay silent because you're afraid to offend, when you delay a decision because you're not ready, you're sending yourself the message, today I choose not to grow. Growth doesn't come from what you read or listen to. And the danger is we start treating those excuses like unshakable truths. People with strong minds don't make excuses. They face reality and take responsibility. They don't wait for motivation. They just need the right reason. Ask yourself this. What in my life is stuck simply because I keep making excuses? There's one more habit we often overlook, but it's deeply rooted. The need for approval. We all crave recognition, praise and agreement. That's human. But when your mind is controlled by other people's opinions, you lose yourself. You bend to fit in, hesitate over key decisions because what will they think? And slowly your core fades away. A Stoic knows the only approval that matters comes from their own conscience. Epictetus wrote, when you no longer need to be understood or applauded, you take your first steps toward real inner freedom. Here's the surprising thing. When you let go of old habits, you don't feel empty. You feel lighter. Like cutting sandbags off a hot air balloon, you start to rise. You don't need more. You need less. Just one breath. Close your eyes and ask yourself, am I nurturing my mind or sabotaging it every day? What's the one thing I keep doing over and over that I know is holding me back? You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Just start today with one thing. One habit you know is limiting you. Stop it. No promises. No overthinking. Just do it. Every small act is a hammer blow to the wall around your willpower. And one day, you won't have to pretend to be strong anymore. You will be. And then you'll be ready for the next chapter. Not just eliminating the bad, but building the good. That's when we start talking about daily practice. Concrete actions to forge lasting inner strength. A solid foundation that won't crack, no matter how chaotic life gets. After tearing down the old outdated beliefs, self-sabotaging habits, and all the crutches you once leaned on, you're left standing on bare ground. There's nothing to cling to, but also nothing to hold you back. This isn't a frightening void. It's an opportunity. And it's where you start to rebuild. Not a temporary shelter to survive the day, but a solid home for the mind. A weak body can barely support a strong mind. The ancient Romans understood this. The body is an instrument of the will. When you lift weights, run, or do push-ups, you're not just training muscles. You're building endurance, grit, and above all, self-respect. You said you would, and you did. Rain or shine. Witnessed or not. So ask yourself, how long has it been since you last broke a promise to yourself? But intensity is only half the battle. The other half is depth. A true Stoic carves out a few minutes every day to step back from the noise, shut everything off, and actually listen to themselves. Call it meditation, stillness, silence, whatever you want. Just know this. No one can control their emotions if they've never taken the time to observe them. When the world pushes you into chaos, only this kind of inner training can keep you grounded, rather than blown around like a leaf in the storm. And then there's the one practice it doesn't get pushed around. People may not know why you feel different, but they will feel it. And sometimes they'll fear the quiet power you carry. If you truly want to build that kind of strength, start tomorrow. Or better yet, start today. Take a cold shower. Move your body. Sit in silence. Choose the hard thing you've been avoiding. Do it not because you're motivated, but because you're building a mind that can't be shaken. No applause. No rewards. Just the quiet knowing you're becoming solid as stone. And if you feel tired, discouraged, or ready to quit, pause. Breathe. Notice what's happening. Realize this discomfort won't break you. It's simply asking, are you worthy of the stronger version of yourself? Because once you notice the shift in your reactions, your calm in chaos, your grip on anger, laziness, fear, you'll know you're not who you used to be. And that's when you're ready for the next lesson. The one every true Stoic spends a lifetime learning. How to rethink failure. Most people see it as the end. A Stoic sees it as reality's stern nod, inviting you to adjust and move forward. If you've ever lost a job, been rejected, or stood in a room full of people, and still felt invisible, you've failed. And if in those moments, all you did was blame yourself, lash out, or rush for comfort, then you missed a rare chance to train your mind. A strong mind isn't one that knows everything. It's one that dares to sit with failure and ask, what are you here to teach me? Maybe you think you're nothing like Blakely. But the truth is, you're more like her than you think. The only difference is, she trained her brain not to flinch every time the world said no. The Stoic trains the mind the way a blacksmith tempers steel. They know no blade is sharpened in warm water. Failure is the forge, the anvil, the hammer's rhythm. And every time you fall, you face a choice. Shrink back into shape, or take the heat and remake yourself. Epictetus said, difficulties show men what they are. Not a success, not praise, not moments of recognition. It's failure, hardship, and loss that strip you down to your core. And only when you dare to look at what's truly there, does rebuilding mean anything at all. The problem is, no one ever teaches us how to fail well. We're taught to win, to be smart, to be better than others. But no one shows you how to watch someone you love walk away without losing your self-worth. How to stare at a report card full of FS without believing you're worthless. How to fail and stay awake through it. A Stoic isn't someone who feels no pain. They're someone who feels deeply but doesn't lose themselves in it. If you want to build a mind so strong it makes others think twice before underestimating you, start at your weakest point. The failure you're still too scared to face. Write it down. Look at it. Don't judge it. Just learn. And next time failure knocks, don't pretend you're not home. Open the door. Pour it a quiet cup of tea and ask, what are you here to teach me this time? If you're still reading, if you've made it through more than half this journey with me, you're not just listening to a speech. You're learning to stand inside the fire. We're not here to comfort you. We're here to remind you. There's something inside you that hasn't been awakened yet, and failure holds the key. Hit like if this helped you see failure differently. And don't leave just yet, because what's next won't repeat the same ideas. They're the next blows in the forge that will shape a steel-strong mind. No one else can do this for you. But if you do it, trust me, the world won't be able to ignore you. Number 5. Master your emotions under fire. Try to remember the last time someone hurt you. Maybe it was an offhand remark, a cutting comment, or just a dismissive glance during a meeting. In that moment, did your blood rush to your head? Heart pound faster? Throat tighten in anger? Did you just want to snap back? That reaction is instinctive and understandable, but not always necessary. Emotions are like steam in a pressure cooker. Open the lid too soon and it blasts out, burning everything around it. But if you manage the heat, you can cook an incredible meal without hurting anyone. The problem isn't the cooker, it's whether you know how to control the flame. Stoicism doesn't ask you to be emotionless or detached. It asks one simple question. Is what you're reacting to really worth sacrificing your peace of mind? Is it worth brooding for 3? The room falls silent. No one expected that kind of calm. It wasn't just an answer. It was a signal. I'm not easily shaken. People like that command respect. Not because they're the smartest in the room but because they stay steady. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. No flowery language. No lofty philosophy. Just the truth. A truth many people avoid. Because if you really believed you had control over your mind, you'd have no excuse to lose it over someone else's behavior. It's knowing when to stay silent. If you try this, even for just a week, you'll notice that the real change isn't in others but in your presence. You become calmer, harder to provoke, less vulnerable to the rashness of others. And when that shift happens, people start treating you differently. Not because you're famous, powerful or cold, but because they can tell you're not easily pierced. Staying grounded in the heat of conflict is an art. But staying grounded even when someone is throwing fuel on the fire, that's real strength. Number 6, build an unshakable mental core. In Stoicism, no one is born with an unshakable mind. It's not a gift. It's a skill built slowly, consistently, often in silence, so subtle no one notices. And because it's quiet, when it finally forms, it commands a kind of respect. Not the fear that comes from aggression, but the awe that comes from someone who stays calm while others spiral into panic. It sounds good in theory. But what does it actually look like? It looks like rush hour traffic that's not moving, a deadline breathing down your neck, your phone ringing non-stop, and an email from your boss blaming you for a mistake that wasn't yours, and you don't lose it. You don't slam the desk, snap at anyone, or shoot back with sarcasm. You sit. You breathe.